So, I just got to see the brand new movie that everybody's talking about. Yes, Dune Part 2. Of course I saw that, but I also saw another movie that some people are talking about. Of course, it's called Love Lies Bleeding. Now, this is a film directed by somebody named Rose Glass. I have not seen any of her other work, but I've heard that she has a big, kind of following. A lot of people really like the stuff that she's put out so far. This is my first experience in one of her films. This is a film that was blowing up at the Sundance Film Festival. I remember seeing so many different clips of different people promoting the film, and a lot of people saying that they absolutely loved it. Now, I have finally gotten to see this new film, which is obviously distributed by A24, and is this kind of thriller type suspenseful violence-esque movie. And I have some things to say about it because there's a lot about this movie that I really like that I found to be really unique, but there are some notes that I kind of had, some things that sort of lost me throughout its runtime that didn't completely sink its teeth into me. First off, the cast, and honestly, the cast here might be the best part about the entire movie. You have Kristen Stewart, who is the leading role in this film. She plays this woman named Lou, who is this gym owner. She runs this gym, and she has this very complicated family for a multitude of different reasons, both with her relationship with her sister and her brother-in-law, and then how that connects to her father, who's sort of kind of this gang leader in town, and that really complicates her life, especially when she meets Jackie, who's played by Katie O'Brien, this new actress that everybody seems to be freaking out about. I have not seen too much of her work, but in this movie, she plays this person who is a bodybuilder, and she's kind of going town to town, preparing for this big bodybuilding competition in Las Vegas, where she runs into Kristen Stewart's character, and they sort of start blossoming this relationship. And yeah, from there, the two and their love story just kind of get tangled into this weird story that kind of dives into this violent, reality and this twisted narrative of families, of drug abuse, of obsessions, and it kind of gets crazy in a way, and there's a lot to really love here. First, I think Kristen Stewart is an absolute star in this movie. She really, every time I see Kristen Stewart in something new, it's just kind of a reminder that she is a great actress that has sort of been underutilized and underappreciated in the larger Hollywood, the same way that Robert Pattinson for years was sort of underappreciated after Twilight, and he's now just finally kind of getting that love and praise that he deserves and that recognition. Kristen Stewart is kind of going through that same thing. She is really great here, and Katie O'Brien, my god, is that woman jacked. And obviously that's the point with her character, she had to get jacked, but the moment she turned up on screen, I was just reminded of that one line that Tommy says in The Last of Us when he's describing Abby.
Described her as built like an ox.
She is huge, and the commitment to getting into that kind of shape is unbelievable and needs to be absolutely commended, and I would give her an Oscar nomination just for that work, because that is insane. There are some dudes that do superhero movies that don't get this jacked, so good for you. Ed Harris is also in this movie. He plays the father of Kristen Stewart's character, and he is amazing. Obviously, Ed Harris, I mean, I could gush about him for hours and hours and hours. The work that he does, pretty much everything he's in, especially when he gets to play a bad guy, is just terrific. He really echoes some of the stuff that you would see in previous movies that he's done, previous shows. He's got like a kind of like the Man in Black type thing going on from his character in Westworld here, and he is just kind of a creepy, narcissistic, but also controlled sort of dick, and his character really works here, especially with his relations to the other characters. Now, this film is dark. It's really, really dark, and I don't want to say bleak, because it's not bleak, but it's definitely just kind of, I don't want to say it has a sense of like dread in it, but it is just a really kind of gross movie to look at and to just watch, in the sense that there's a lot of body horror. The lighting and the coloring is very dark and kind of gross in a way. The characters all have issues with them that just make you not really want to completely root for them, especially some of the actual bad characters. The world that it's in just feels kind of grimy and run down. It's a very dark and gross movie that kind of lacks the light and comedy, that you might be expecting from a sort of story like this, in the sense that what this movie really did remind me of, and what I almost got tricked into feeling that I was watching, is a Coen Brothers movie. And it's kind of weird that we just got a very sort of similar movie to this in Drive Away Dolls, in the sense that it was two women that are in love and they kind of get whipped up into this whole crime drama. Very, very different movie, Drive Away Dolls. That is a comedy. This kind of felt like the opposite of that, and maybe that's why I was sort of expecting. I was like, I feel like this movie is going to be a little more fun. That's at least what I thought early on, and as it didn't get into that, I was confused, and I think it's just because I've been tricked into thinking that this was similar to a Coen Brothers movie, and when it wasn't like that, I was like, that's strange. But yet again, Coen Brothers made No Country for Old Men, What am I saying? I'm just rambling about bullshit and nonsense. Either way, it's a really dark movie, and its tone sort of reminded me of that movie with Timothée Chalamet from a couple years ago where he's a cannibal. What the hell is that movie called? Bones and All. Bones and All. That's what this kind of reminded me of. It's not as... It doesn't go all the way with its body horror throughout the whole film. There are moments of real body horror and grotesqueness in this film that really work, but it's not like... in, like, you know, Bones and All, it's the entire movie. It's not like that here, so don't expect that. But just tone and sort of feel is what I kind of got out of that. The story that this movie's trying to tell, at times it does work for me very, very much. At its core, if you really just take out the whole story and line it up, it's very, very simple. It's very basic. It's kind of a classic story within a genre like this. And when you read it out on paper, it seems really, really kind of standard. But I think a lot of the core themes here and a lot of the things that the director was trying to say, they are sort of unique in a way, at least what I took out of it when it comes to this idea of obsessions and love and how those things sometimes go together and sometimes kind of clash and go against each other. And for that, yeah, it definitely worked for me and I could connect to the film, but other than that, you know, some stuff with the story, just, I kind of felt disconnected because I couldn't get that interested in it. It just did not feel as, just didn't feel as unique or interesting or surprising as maybe I would have liked personally, but it is still very well written. I think a lot of the dialogue in this movie is done really well. I also think a lot of the music choices in this movie are extremely well chosen. I think the music supervision in this film was done very, very well. Particularly, there's a whole section in Las Vegas that I just think was extremely well made, and it reminded me... God, I keep making this reference, but it reminded me of a Requiem for a Dream type kind of trippy sort of section of this film, and I thought it really worked for the core themes of what the movie was trying to say, and visually it was done extremely well, and it also set up a big surprising moment in the third act that I won't spoil here, obviously, but a moment that is kind of like the big crescendo moment of the film, which connects both the actual story that's going on, the base story, and the themes, the deeper subtext of the film. And I think that moment really works because of this whole Vegas section that appears about the midway point of the movie. And because of that, I thought that was really well done. Really good writing there. The third act in general, though, I don't know. I didn't really love it. I mean, the movie does kind of a thing that modern filmmakers usually do, where it just goes from being sort of normal and practical to being crazy and completely unexpected. And I don't want to compare it to any... I do have comps in my head, but to comp it to what I'm comping it in my head right now would be to spoil it, so I'm not going to do that. But it's compared to movies that kind of lose me once they make that twist, because it's something that's so big and so rambunctious and such a big swing that I just can't get behind it. And maybe that's because I'm more of a fan of stories that continuously follow the practical line that they're going down and don't kind of stray from that and just randomly get ridiculous in its messaging and its imagery. But this film definitely does that in its third act. And I kind of get what they were trying to do with it. I get what they were trying to say, but I was just kind of lost by the third act. Dave Franco's in this movie. I don't really have much to say about him, but I haven't seen him in anything in a while, and we like Dave Franco, so yes, more Dave Franco, please. So Love Lies Bleeding. Listen, it's a movie that I really liked. I really like the body horror aspects of the film. I like the violence. I like the core relationship between Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien. I think they really sell their chemistry. There's a lot of really intimate scenes between the two that really work. I think a lot of the cinematography in the film was done really, really well. I think the film is written really well. It has a complete story that makes sense, although it was a little more simple than I would have liked, and maybe strays a little too far off the path by the third act for my personal taste. The story that I completely understand is going to work for a lot of people. I think it has a good message. I think it has a lot of good ideas involved. It's a film that I can understand why a lot of people really dig it, but it's probably not one that I personally am going to rewatch because it's just not really my personal thing, if I'm going to be honest. But if you want to see a love story with some violence about a jacked lady and Kristen Stewart, it's the film for you, baby. I'll give Love Lies Bleeding a 4 out of 5. I'd be a hypocrite to get it any lower than that because, like, it is a 4 out of 5, even if I personally feel like it's like a 3.5. So we'll give it a 4. That's the video, guys. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Please make sure to turn on notifications. I will see you in the next one.